At this point, I'd like to take just a moment and give a brief introduction to a personal and professional colleague and friend of mine, Dr. Stephen Mulva. Stephen is the director of the Construction Industry Institute, housed at the University of Texas at Austin. His current research projects are focused on the performance and productivity of capital projects in most sectors of the industry. He has an earned PhD in civil engineering from Georgia Tech and two additional degrees, one from the University of Texas, well, actually both from the University of Texas, a master's in civil engineering and a bachelor's in architectural engineering. In addition to being a skilled scholar, a world-class researcher, he's also a personal friend of CURT's and of mine, and we're happy to welcome Stephen all the way from Austin, Texas. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Absolutely, Greg. It's great to be with you.
You know, the next piece is a fireside chat that concerns something that we've been exploring, as you know, over the last 6 or 8 months. In fact, the genesis and the roots of it go back quite a bit. And we wanted to put you, along with myself, on the program this afternoon to take a few minutes and bring folks up to date concerning the joint venture and the alliance that they've been hearing about, both at the ECC conference. You've seen it in the Voice magazine. They've probably read about it in Engineering News Record as well. And we're excited about that initiative. Stephen, I want you to start, if you would, please, first. And fellows, if we could have that first slide, I'm going to have Stephen give you a little context about what's been going on in the CURT CII joint venture. First slide, please, Stephen.
Sure. Thanks, Greg. And good afternoon, everybody. Really excited to be here with you. The CURT National Conference is always one of the highlights of my year, and to go and see what CURT's working on. I've been the director for 5 years. I think Greg was mentioning that, and we've just continued to build, a lot of trust, a lot of mutual admiration for what CII can accomplish and what CURT can do as well. There's a lot of enthusiasm for this joint venture and the wider alliance, and I'm going to take a moment with Greg to talk a little bit with you about this. Really, it's about improving your return on investment. It's really all about you. It's what can we do to help you succeed today, tomorrow, and in the wider future going forward. So on the next slide, we'll get into it a little bit more. Greg was mentioning the history of this exploration and a joint venture and alliance, but really for the last 5 years, CURT and CII have partnered on lots of different things. There's really 9 different things if we add them all up. I'm just mentioning a few of them here, such as the common benchmarking on safety performance and high-level productivity metrics. We routinely get more than 3 billion work hours from our combined memberships on safety performance. So outside of OSHA, it's probably one of the largest collections of safety data, and that really helps our members improve. Operating system 2, it's been in operation for really close to 4 years, and during that entire gestation period, and now we're starting to see some real results from this, but CURT and CII have been side by side promoting it, investing in it, building excitement for it. A lot of that excitement shows up in the Voice magazine. And so hopefully you're an avid reader like I am of the Voice magazine. For the past couple of years, this has been jointly co-branded with CII and CURT, featuring articles from both organizations. So through these 9 different initiatives, we've really built up a lot of trust and mutual appreciation for not only each other's staffs and each other's organizations, but for the members especially. And so we took a close look at this and said, look, there's a lot of duplication here. Probably 2/3 of our committees or our communities of practice are similar on both sides of the fence. And because of that, we were also hearing because of the pandemic and other things that our members were asking us, how can we do more? How can we do more with less duplication, more focus on what it needs for us to succeed? And we took that to heart, and we've really been working on it. And by September of last year, we announced the exploration of an alliance. And back then, when the story was carried by ENR and The Voice magazine and other publications, it included not only just CURT and CII, but also the Engineering and Construction Contracting Association, ECC. And so they're still part of the alliance ecosystem, and we'll explain a little bit more about the distinctions between joint venture and alliance here in a second. But before we get any further, I wanted to turn it back to Greg and see if he had any opening comments.
Thank you, Stephen. No, other than that of just the excitement of creating something of additional value. And, you know, there's many stakeholders in the CURT CII joint venture. Obviously, we have the two organizations, the two institutions with a stellar history of leadership in our construction industry. CII and Stephen preceded CURT by quite a number of years, but yet has worldwide penetration in terms of its reputation for the best research organization in the world. CURT has been the voice of the owners. We've been able to bring both labor and contractors, subcontractor, and other suppliers together in a forum that really created a lot of synergy as leaders in those sectors came together. But now, with the pandemic, with the challenges that each of your organizations face as a result, the issue is, how can we do more with less? The old mantra when we started CURT was more construction for the money. Well, guess what? That mantra is still alive and well as we deliberate between CURT and CII. What can we do differently? What can be new? What can be more cost effective? What can be more industry effective? What can show leadership? And what could be a greater value, not only for the institutions, the members who comprise them, and also the industry in general, whether they're a part of CURT or not. So the impact that this potential joint venture has is enormous. That's why we're taking our time with it. That's why we're looking at every aspect of the organization. Now, you'll see here in just a few minutes some of the teams that we've convened for this. And we're just excited to work together with the fine folks at CII, as well, of course, with Stephen Mulva. Always a joy to be with him. And I might add that our meetings are sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. So we are promoting this venture as fast as we possibly can, given some limitations that and responsibilities that both of us at our organizations have. But we're looking forward to the very next step. Let's go to the next slide, Stephen, and tell us a little bit about what you see here. What is your perspective as to why we're doing this?
Sure. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, really, it's all about the members and the wider industry on improving the return on investment. Capital projects are, every year, they're one of the very highest, most expensive and biggest uses of capital inside of our member companies. And so we're trying to really ramp up that return on investment for the members and provide a lot of greater value. And do so in a way that's respectful of their total investment. And that's not just the money that the members pay in dues, it's their time, it's the time that they're away from the office, networking with peers and colleagues, and really being efficient with that. So we are looking at one overall dues structure to support the joint venture and the alliance. And for that money, the members would have much greater exposure to everything that we're doing. When I say improve return on investment, it comes in a lot of different categories, but I really generally think of 3 things. The first is measurement. So in order to improve something, it's often good to measure it, but measurement by itself doesn't improve it. So if you're a C student and you want to become a B student or an A student, you have to change your behavior. If you keep doing the same things, you'll probably still stay at the same level. However, if you improve your behavior, the measurement tells you, how much better did I become. So in order to improve, it really comes down to 2 things I call means and methods, and that is largely the work processes that you use or the technologies that you incorporate, and those things help improve your performance. And again, you can measure that. But the other is to get rid of waste. And this is something we've really been exploring the last several years with OS2 in particular, really trying to create a very efficient business model. And by that, driving out waste. And big capital projects, you have a lot of stakeholders. And the interfaces between the stakeholders can be inefficient. A lot of times they're contractual, there's penalties, there's perceptions or different perceptions of risk. There's lots of different things that come into play that don't really add up into the final project that you're building. There are things that are on the outside and they cost money. In fact, they cost maybe as much as 40%. So if we can measure, if we can have better means and methods and technologies, means and methods could also be things like advanced work packaging and constructability and better front-end planning. And you pair that with an efficient business model, we have the recipe for some really, really great success. And that's true inside of the joint venture between CII and CURT as well, that there's a lot of complementary strengths and synergies. I mentioned duplication in some of the committees, but when we bring even a bigger cohort of members together, we can achieve even more and be respectful of members' budgets and the volunteers' time and those things. But it is important to stress that us doing this really isn't because of the pandemic. The pandemic was a catalyst, but not a driver. And what do I mean by that? CII was doing fine on our own, as was CURT. We just realized that if you bring them together, plus the wider alliance partners that we'll talk about in a second, we have the opportunity to build something that's not only the premier organization in the engineering, architecture, engineering, construction industry, and has a global footprint. We can build something really, really great, and we can leverage all the strengths so that 1 + 1 equals not just 3, but like 1 + 1 come together and you get 11 or more. The other big thing I see in this is there's a shift in this industry from something I'll call predictability into cost efficiency or capital efficiency. Predictability, we were always concerned with hitting a schedule or a budget, or if we were at or below cost and schedule, good quality, paramount, absolutely great safety. We were very focused on that. What's happened in real recent years is people want to maximize the value of every capital dollar they're spending. And we measure that in terms of cost per capacity. So you can think of dollars per square foot, or if you're making electrical power, dollars per megawatt generated. And what we want to see is that not only the first cost, but also the life cycle performance cost of that is increasingly much more capital efficient. And again, you do that by measurement, means and methods, and having an efficient business model. So we bring all of those things together, the focus of the combined memberships of CII and CURT, plus some of the alliance partners, and we bring that together in a way that's going to provide a lot of value. And so that's what's getting people really, really excited. I hear it all the time. I mean, it seems like there's not a day that goes by that the phone doesn't ring or somebody reaches out by email to just say that they're excited, or, hey, I hope that it includes this thing or that. And eventually, we'll talk about what this means for you, because we do want to hear from you. We want to have your ideas and have you tell us what you think is possible. But before I move on, let me turn it back to Greg and just see if he has some thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Steve, and I appreciate that. And I too want to emphasize the fact that as we begin to study each organization's strengths, and I won't call them weaknesses because they're two strong organizations, but what they do better than anybody else, even on a bad day, we discovered that the answers to those questions were different for each organization. And so the what if question, what if we take the best of both organizations? What if CII's area of less robustness is CURT's area of strength? And in fact, it has been. What if? And we've tried to answer that what if question so that it had an answer that didn't become an if only question in the past. Taking what if opportunity and trying to avoid if only regret, especially during this chaotic and challenging time. And as we said when our conference opened, that chaos and uncertainty is the mother of opportunity and creativity. And that's exactly what we're involved in now, is trying to be creative, trying to get out the what if question, and everything's on the table in terms of what if opportunity, and we're excited where that's going to go. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide, fellas, and I'll let Stephen tell you a little story about an analogy that may, quite frankly, help you understand what we're doing. There is a model for what we're doing out in the marketplace, and Stephen's going to share that with you now. Next slide, please.
So one analogy that we use quite frequently is that of the airline alliance, and you see the three American-led airline alliances here that are listed, and probably you're familiar with those. And generally, there's three really strong partners: one in Asia, one in North America, and one in Europe. That seems to be a common thread. And then there's a lot of other partners as well. And so we feel like the joint venture that we're building with CII and CURT is really the hub of that, and we have the alliance partners that would connect onto that hub. And together, this is really what we're talking about, creating this premier organization. So CII has a lot of global affiliates. In fact, we have about a dozen in different places around the world. And then CURT has local user councils, and then there's other groups out there that we work with quite a bit, ECC being one, NCCER is another. And then on the diagram, it talks about others, and that could be technology firms, it could be other kinds of service providers, but really these are channels for innovation for us to disseminate our innovation and deployment resources, and also they're channels to bring people in so that we can have even greater diversity of thought, greater diversity of sectors, just any way you want to categorize diversity. The point is, can we build a bigger tent? Can we bring more people into this industry conversation of how to make this great industry even better than it already is?
Yeah, I think that's
yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very important point you make there, Stephen. And what we wanted to do is be as inclusive as possible while being efficient and productive in the development of the thing. And so the hub and spoke concept that Stephen just explained made a lot more sense, as opposed to bringing everybody in at once up front and expecting that collaboration with many, many, many different kinds of organizations, different structures, different governing structures. To make that work would have been very, very challenging. And frankly, I don't think we have time for that. So the better model was decided is we would go task CURT and CII to come together with this hub, and then the alliance would be comprised of all of the organizations that spoke out from that, both contributing to the initiative and the JV contributing also to the to the entire alliance, the entire thrust forward for the industry. Let's have the next slide, please. Stephen.
Sure. So the progress we're making today is, I kind of describe it like our industry's improvement journey has been a mystery wrapped in an enigma shrouded by bureaucracy, right? We're trying to clear that up. We're trying to make improvement much more focused, relevant, timely, agile, simple, engaging. So what we want to do is have less permanent committees, more agile structure that we can spring up a group to study an initiative and have it go pretty quickly, and work seamlessly between CII and CURT and the wider alliance partners to make sure that this happens quickly. A key cornerstone part of this is something we call market research or market intelligence, which is an outside look at, what do you, the members, really need? What does the industry really need to improve? And we get a lot of that from you directly through your participation, but sometimes it's good to study it externally. You see this in the market research that leading companies do all the time. They'll do a lot of their internal planning, then they'll bring in a focus group to ask them how they feel about a product, a service, whatever it happens to be. So starting with that, we move from this market perspective, we bring it into creating the innovations. A lot of times that leverages the academic research that CII has been known for now close to 40 years, 38 years. And we develop this innovation. We work with CURT and we figure out how do we get that innovation deployed into the work processes, the technologies, the people, everything that goes into improving what it is you do in a capital project. Some of that may go to market in the forms of commercialized products and services. But that journey needs to happen much more quickly and less formal and bureaucratic, and speed to market is key for you. It's absolutely key for us. So we've got 7 work teams that are studying this at this point. We have a leadership and governance group. We have a financial group. We have a committee that's studying the market intelligence to innovation part, and another committee or work team that's studying the innovation to deployment and go to market. An events group, a group called marketing, membership and communications, and then lastly an operations group. But all of those groups are really focused on, again, delivering more value to you.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. You know, another one of the issues that I'm excited about, or one of the characteristics of these things that I'm excited about, is that we have given these task forces resources with facilitators, et cetera, to be as creative as they can possibly be. We're encouraging them to ask the what if question, even though the means and the methods and the money might not be worked out. We're encouraging those folks to make recommendations to the leadership team that are creative. And I'm not sure that's something the industry is used to. And we're also, as you well know, considering bringing other folks in, business professionals, marketing professionals, folks who have nothing to do with the industry per se, and asking them to weigh in on some of the directions that we're thinking about going. So we expect to have some great recommendations from some high energy, high performance work teams here this spring. Let's go to the next slide, fellas. And I think we're going to break it down a little bit for you right here. Stephen, why don't you lead with this expected outcome slide?
Sure. So this is really the last slide that we have. And by the way, if you have some questions, please type them in the chat function, or you can send them directly to Palmer, gpalmer@curt.org. And yeah, we'd love to take a few questions. By the way, if it's going to take a little while longer for you to generate your questions, there will be an opportunity at the beginning of Wednesday's session to talk a bit more in depth about the joint venture between CURT and CII and the wider alliance and the alliance partners. But really, it's this journey that we're on. And so the expected outcome is that we will be able to move quickly from, as I was talking about, market intelligence to research and innovation to products and services. This can't be a separate initiative. Improvement can't be something that an add-on to what you're doing. We want this to be integral to what you're doing. So as you're doing that planning, design, procurement, construction, operations, those activities that you're doing, the improvements should be embedded in those actual activities. And in order to do that, you're using commercial products and services, you're transitioning your work processes, you're upskilling the employees. All of these different things are designed for that improvement. So what we need from you is, besides your participation, your enthusiasm, your ideas, we need that energy to come in. And we have great people serving on those 7 work teams. Besides that, we still need you to come in because you have different experiences. You work on different types of projects in different sectors. And we need to know what it is from our combined memberships that you really desire to have in this combined organization, combined joint venture group. And so this is just really an appeal to you to get involved and to tell us what's possible.
Great. And again, Stephen, it's a joy to work with you and your team there in Austin. Looking forward to getting together face to face sometime soon. And hopefully before all this is over with, but it's a joy to work with you. We're certainly excited, and we trust the industry is excited. And I know we're going to come out with some great ideas to consider. I understand that we do have a couple of questions. So I'm going to ask Greg Palmer, if he would, to read us the first question in the queue, and we'll take a swing at what you pitched to us.
Do you think that other industry organizations like LCI, ABC, AGC, and the engineering associations like ASCE will want to become a spoke on the wheel?
I'll go ahead. Yes,
Go.
absolutely.
Yes.
We're designing this specifically for that idea that we want those groups and others to get involved with us and vice versa. But really to have one central place where everybody who's focused on improvement in the architecture, engineering, and construction industry can come in, have a place that they feel like they can lend their talents and time and really get involved in these issues to make a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, we're building this thing to be inclusive, not exclusive. I think it's very important. And I think that the sophisticated folks who have been down this path before and who may be listening understand that the bigger and bigger the initiative gets, the messier it can be, the slower it moves, et cetera. So the reason for our JV is not exclusivity whatsoever. It is to get to market faster with our ideas, to get to you faster with products and services, with improvements, with greater cost effectiveness. And we're going to invite everyone in who wants to be in. Some will, some won't. So what? We're moving forward with it nevertheless. And we're excited for these other groups to join us. One of the reasons for having this sort of informational session, because many representatives from those groups are indeed registered for this event, is to let you know progress to date. And again, you're welcome to take the slides. You're welcome to send the presentation that we've just shared with you, this update, to whomever you want in your organization. It's free to send wherever you want. So we hope that that they will step up and be a part. I think there's one more question or two, Greg. What's the next one in the queue? We've got a couple of minutes left here.
Like vertical integration intended to drive greater efficiency for solution identification, research, and implementation in order to address the challenges of our industry. What is the tangible value and the ROI an owner or other project stakeholder will realize through this JV?
You want to take a swing at that pitch first, Stephen?
Sure. Yeah. So actually, I kind of got sidetracked at the very beginning of the question on vertical integration, because I think that's actually one of the challenges that we've had, that the costs of that have been very high. So I actually see that having the joint venture with the alliance partners is a way to avoid the extra waste or costs associated with sort of that vertical integration opportunity, and thereby promote the agility. And this is really why the airlines did it. They realized they couldn't fly to everywhere on the planet, and so they worked to code share flights with their partners around the world. What resulted was a very nimble, efficient structure. It was resource efficient. And essentially, that's what we're trying to do here as well. So our goal is entirely to be more agile, faster responding, be able to drive improvement in even more areas by having a coordinated approach to improvement in this industry. If CURT was doing its own thing, CII separately doing its own thing, there would be a lot of duplication, and we really wouldn't be able to improve the industry as fast as if we were coordinated. And that's, again, what the airlines do. They coordinate their schedules, they coordinate their route structure so that they can serve more people and do it more efficiently.
Well, we thank you for your attention to this, and you'll have updates probably again at the CII annual conference in August in Orlando. We'll be presenting there as well. And we're keeping the key stakeholders informed as to progress to date on a regular basis. So thank you for joining us, Stephen. Thank you for being a part of us. We'll look forward again to catching up with you on Wednesday. Thank you, Stephen.